Okay, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this is the place where I talk about suffering through corporate burnout and coming out the other side to then build my own business / startup. I'm sorry I haven't been here for a few weeks now. I've been trying to plug in the last of the holes to get this app up, to get the first launch up. No excuse, because I still want to stay accountable and do this thing every single week. Time just ticks pretty fast, especially coming up to Christmas. So I have actually completed a lot of stuff. I want to go through the development Scrum board a little bit. Then I want to talk about some other things that have happened, maybe just like some investment ideas that I've had and some engagement on Twitter. I always find engagement on Twitter is very helpful, especially for me being sort of separate from a lot of the startup culture that comes out of San Francisco. I'm all the way over on the east in Toronto, halfway between Chicago and New York. And although it's a big city in itself, it's still separated from that sort of Silicon Valley culture. So Twitter is really a way for me to engage and stay at the forefront of the mindset that's coming out of there. In terms of development, okay, let's just go through this board. I have actually finished a bunch of tasks here. After deleting the app, then reinstalling the same login. The health metrics are duplicated. I had a bit of a duplication issue with that, so that's fine. I can drag and drop that over. The next thing, an employee can register interest for the coming soon page to browse other company scores. There's a few different ways to go on this because this is an up and coming feature. It's something that I have invested a little bit of time in yet, but I'm not going to go all in until I get a little bit of interest out of it because there's not much point. But it is the main value prop of the overall app. So Healthrank lets you rate the score on a daily or weekly basis to do with your company and how that's fair enough in terms of compassion, empathy, etc. There's a few other things. So right now, for the first version, for the MVP, I am actually releasing it so you can do that on a daily basis. If you have a really good day, you can rate it. If you have a really bad day, you can kind of like have this system where you can vent a little bit, give some feedback, but mainly that's only for your own kind of like tracking to kind of see how your values fit into like a company on a regular basis. It's kind of like a stock index, but checking it every day or every week or something and going from day to day and week to week and kind of seeing how these like scores average out, you can kind of like get an impression about what the culture is like in your point of view. Now, the next feature is going to be in other people's point of views. You're going to be able to see how other people are rating that company and also any other company that you want to see. So it could be good in terms of like seeing how other companies fare up when you're looking for another job. Right now, that's a lot of work. So I've just created this coming soon page and people that are interested can sort of hit it up and that'll give me a little bit of an indication about whether people want it. So the other thing is that I haven't actually injected any analytics in there yet. Now that's kind of an interesting prospect because I think Y Combinator says that you should actually track analytics from the start. But if I'm aiming for like something very small, like between 10 to 100 users, and I really want to engage with these people, maybe even just talk to them, email them, see if they can chat over the phone, that sort of thing, just to validate a lot of my assumptions with creating this app. So analytics could be like anything from another couple of days to another week or two of development time. And there's not much point. I've touched on this in previous updates, but I'm really subscribed to the lean MVP or lean startup, whatever you want to call it. You know, a lot of people use that term, but I'm really deadly serious about it. I act upon that philosophy of just staying really super lean. So I'm not really going to do anything if I really, really don't need it. And analytics fits into that category for me, not forever, but for the MVP specifically. You know, if the MVP is version 0.1 and then the next version is 0.2, maybe analytics fits into that. It just depends on how big it is, how many users I have essentially. In the short term, I can get more value just by talking to those early adopters, those first few users initially, just talking to them. That settles that, so I'm going to drag that into the done pile. Okay, so I've put two things in next up here. An employee should be able to see the total average view be updated when they've updated a rating. It doesn't really refresh at all times, I don't think, but that is probably just like a little minor thing that I can get to in the next version. Next, this one, a developer needs to handle the merge of the background and the view context appropriately. This is a very technical task. Right now, the data honestly isn't that big. It's a pretty lean database, but that will have to change just in another couple of updates. That's it for the development side. So I'm actually getting a few different, I'm finishing up on the icons, which I don't have a task for yet. So I need to complete adding a task to that. And then I'm just going to add in here into the in progress and just that should only take about an hour or something. It's been a while. Every time I do it, it kind of changes. Basically, a lot of it has this one icon image, and then you kind of like, it involves just resizing down to different icons. I always forget how to automate that because I only do it about once a year or once every 1 or 2 years. So I usually do it a very slow manual way, but maybe there's a website that does it now. So a couple of things that I've seen on Twitter. One from Maya Bittner. I'm not sure if you follow her. She's kind of a successful co-founder of a startup that was acquired by a startup called Chime. Anyway, and she does a little bit of investing herself. So she tweeted something about recently that she just invested in Upshift on Republic. I was curious. I'm still recovering from kind of being out of the tech news loop a little bit for a couple of years while I was living in Vancouver and mainly focusing on other areas of life like health and fitness. That would take up a lot of my spare time. And so I kind of like pushed the tech news aside for a little bit for a couple of years. Things like Republic have come out in that time period that I kind of am catching up on still. So I found it very interesting. I feel like I'm last to discover a TV show or something here. But I took a look at Republic and I was blown away. So it's really appealing to me, and it's only something I literally just found out about yesterday. So that's really cool. So another thing that caught my attention on Twitter, I should really start an update called This Week in Twitter or something, because that might be relevant, especially in terms of like, building a startup. I think this is also through Maya Bittner. She tweeted something like from somebody called Alex Cohen. Alex is a founder of Birch, and he was basically saying that he tweeted that he's in the car for the next 10 hours, and he just didn't ask me anything on Twitter. He said, ask me anything, pitch deck, feedback, fundraising advice, thoughts on your startup, career advice, anything else, etc. So I said, look, this is probably the most pressing question that comes to my mind as well. So I just naturally asked him, what is the best way to build an audience and or validate an idea if you have no audience? I have, probably a pretty poor following count or like pretty average follow count on Twitter. I don't really have a big audience there. My biggest audience is on Instagram, and that's totally separate to the startup that I'm building now. Like it's mainly based on runners, and they wouldn't be interested in I could definitely try it, but they're not really going to be my target market. And so anyway, I have to build up that audience from the start. And he gave a really cool answer, which I admired because you don't really get that a lot in being in Toronto. You get a lot of, you do get some like helpful advice, but I think people like, more so in San Francisco and Silicon Valley just have more of a, this is something that would just come to mind more naturally. He answered with, people exist, you just got to find channels to find them. If it's not scalable, such as in person. And he gave a specific example. When we first launched Birch, I sat at a coffee shop with a sign for free coffee if people signed up and gave feedback on the spot. I thought that was brilliant because, I could definitely see myself doing something like that, but I just needed a little bit of a push and encouragement saying that you're not a complete douche if you do that. Anyway, that's my update for this week. Like and subscribe if you like this. I'm still just trying to build up this channel, so I'm trying to do this on a weekly basis. I promise it won't be 2 weeks until the next one. Even if I have nothing to update on, I still want to give a weekly update. So like and subscribe if you want to see more, share it with your friends. Leave a comment down below if you're interested or if you want to know more, if you want to chat. I'm probably going to break out the bit about Republic into another video maybe and expand on it a little bit more. So if you want to see that, maybe just like check the next episode or something and it could be up. Okay, bye.